Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Al Zucaro's Citizens of the World. We are, all of us, the residents of a swiftly shrinking globe, where what was once local is fast becoming global, and our decisions and opinions resonate well beyond our own borders. Join me, your host, Al Zucaro, from the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere, Boca Raton, Florida, in sunny South Florida, for a pointed look at politics, immigration, culture, and what it means to be a citizen of the world. Tonight we're going to start, as usual, with our three formats. The first format that we're going to talk about tonight is immigration as an economic development platform. And we're going to mix a little politics in with regards to that because of recent events that have taken place in the capital city of Florida, Tallahassee, and an issue of significant renown and importance, and that is immigration. Florida, like other states, has been struggling recently with what to do with regards to immigration and how it affects our business community. As reported by the St. Pete Times last week, we have a congressional race or Senate race going on in this community now. Currently the seat is held by Senator Nelson, and there are three candidates vying in the Republican side of that equation. Those are Adam Hasner, George Lemieux, and the president of the state Senate, Haradopoulos. And we have Hasner and Lemieux taking aim at Haradopoulos for some of his positions with regards to immigration. And in the St. Pete Times, they report that immigration may be done in the 2011 Florida legislature, but the conversation is certainly going to continue into next year. The next session, it was reported, will conclude with the height of the campaign season, and just as Governor Rick Scott successfully used immigration as a wedge issue in his election, it is expected that these other lawmakers will be using immigration in this same regard. This year, there was a major push for legislation, very strong immigration legislation here in the state of Florida. It's centered around an Arizona law type platform, and got very focused on the use of E-Verify. Now, E-Verify is a system put in place by the federal government that allows employers to check whether or not a person applying for a position in their company is eligible for work within their company. Well, this has received a considerable amount of objection. And what has happened is, just recently, Senator J.D. Alexander delivered one of the most impassioned floor speeches in the 2011 legislative session. The Immigration Works Florida, and you can find them at www.immigrationworksflorida.org, reported that Senator Alexander, who is a citrus grower himself, wants to utilize the HV1 program, expressed frustration verging on anger towards the impossible situation that the agricultural industry faces due to federal inaction on the part of immigration. Senator Alexander's speech may have provided the breakthrough that pushed all undecided senators to oppose the amendment and defeat the mandatory E-Verify provision that was in the law as it was originally proposed. Now, Governor Scott has made all of the departments in the state of Florida a requirement that they use the E-Verify system, but this legislation would have made it so that all private employers would have to have done so as well. That is not the case. The Senate passed bill is a much favored alternative to many of the other proposals considered in the session. Its prioritization on verifying the employment eligibility of public assistance recipients and police enforcement component based on arrest avoids many of the constitutional pitfalls of the Arizona-style law. The Florida House may hear the Florida Senate bill, but given the vote in the Senate, the Florida House bill sponsored by Representative Snyder appears to be dead, at least for this session. I suggest that you look out, or you go out to immigrationworksflorida.org for further analysis of this particular element and for what is an important circumstance now apparently handled in the state of Florida. I want to remind everybody that the basic website locations for you to find out more information about what it is that I am working on here with Citizens of the World can be found at www.alzucaro.com. And there will be references there to www.palmbeachregionalcenter.com, which is the platform for the investor visas for foreign nationals who would like to invest in the United States. Moving on this evening, I'd like to take us to the area of culture as a precursor to commerce. And as a little bit of an aside, I recently took a trip with my wife to Ireland. And Ireland is an absolutely magnificent country. I suggest that anyone who has not been there, put that on your list of things to do. The country is very wholesome, very green, very lush, and very friendly. But one of the important stops that we made in Ireland was in Dublin, to the Irish American University. The Irish American University in Dublin actually resides in the old Wilde House. Oscar Wilde lived there with during his lifetime, and it has recently been acquired and is being used now as a location for classroom training for the Irish American University and the American College of Dublin. There is a relationship between the Irish American University and Lynn University right here in South Florida in Boca Raton. The founder and current president of the Irish American University is Dr. Donald Ross. Dr. Ross was the president of Lynn University until recently. In the last few years, his son Kevin Ross has taken over as president. The interaction between the universities is very significant. Kudos should be extended to Lynn University and to the Irish American University. Dr. Donald Ross, the university's founder, Lynn University's former president, showed extraordinary vision when he founded the Irish American University in Dublin, Ireland. Lynn University is under the direction of Kevin Ross, as I mentioned, and the Ross legacy continues to provide a real-time example of taking the dream to the next level. It is a great example of using education and culture to develop economically within both communities. Lynn's relationship with Irish American University offers cross-border experiences for international students, both our students and theirs. They ultimately touch each other in many different ways. Course offerings, internship programs, diplomatic connectivity, and cultural activities are but a few of the elements that are being experienced between these two universities and their relationship. The net result is a highly targeted foreign student admissions policy that contributes an influx of foreign dollars into the greater Boca Raton community, ultimately strengthening our state's and our nation's overall economy. This, in fact, is a prime example of what I suggest, that immigration, education, and culture are precursors to economic development, and Lynn University is doing that at a very significant level. I'd like to take a few moments for a break now, and we'll come back in a short while. Welcome back, folks. Thank you. I want to take us to our next segment in the show. Remember, part of the thesis behind what I speak about on a weekly basis is that the greater Boca Raton area is actually the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere. Now, obviously, when I say that, it brings a chuckle to many people's faces, and I believe that that chuckle is worthwhile. But you'll remember my exercise. The compass point in the middle of this table, draw the circle at 5,000 miles with its diameter, and you'll see that South Florida is, in fact, the middle, almost the exact middle of the Western Hemisphere. So I extrapolate from there, and I realize that the level of business done in South Florida from Miami all the way up through Palm Beach County, including Boca Raton, is very significant. And I take editorial privilege in my statement that we are the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere. But I take even greater privilege when I speak to the issue that Boca Raton is the international business capital of Palm Beach County, and today I'm going to argue is also the international educational capital of Palm Beach County. In Boca Raton, we have a great amount of foreign students that come to this community and contribute in many different ways. I recently have participated in the Leadership Boca program and the Educational Day. That day, we were offered an opportunity to see the impacts of foreign student enrollment from pre-kindergarten through postgraduate doctoral programming. We visited a number of institutions. I'm going to name the ones that I thought were most reflective of the theme that Boca Raton is the educational capital of Palm Beach County. I'll start with pre-kindergarten through high school. And the example there that I'd like to use is St. Andrews. St. Andrews can be located, their website presence can be located at www.standrews.net. I suggest that everybody go take a look at that. What you'll find there is you'll find an educational experience that is attracting students from all over the world, is a highly competitive entry process with parents competing to get their children into that school. You'll find a course curriculum that is global in its perspective and in its reach, and you'll find students in the early grammar school grades already dealing with the difficult subjects of foreign language. Mandarin Chinese is a mandatory language, and other electives from a language point of view. These children, as they proceed through the various grades at St. Andrews, are being prepared for a number of post-high school educational opportunities. The three of significance that are located in South County are, in no specific order, www.fau.edu. That's Florida Atlantic University, located in its main campus in Boca Raton, Florida. Second would be Palm Beach State College, located at www.palmbeachstate.edu. And finally, Lynn University at www.lynn.edu. Now, I reference these institutions because they are making significant efforts and dedicating significant resources to the idea of a foreign student base. FAU has hundreds of foreign students taking part in their undergraduate and graduate work. Palm Beach State College has dedicated an entire language section to the opportunities that are afforded to foreign students. And Lynn University has doctoral programs that we have mentioned earlier in our comments. These universities are going a long way to drive the economics of Palm Beach County. One of the points that was made on the Boca Chambers Leadership Day was it is not usual, or it is quite unusual, to think of Boca Raton as a, quote, college town, close quote, But clearly, the greater Boca Raton area has these characteristics. Real estate professionals throughout our locale are quick to point out the impact that university participants are having on the real estate and housing markets, and the influx of foreigners to our foreign capital to our area is very significant. Businesses also recognize the economic impact of foreign nationals, and many of them are located here through these educational experiences offered to their children and to their siblings. It is undeniable that the roadways of the greater Boca Raton area are significantly impacted by foreign nationals, some of which are here for the educational experiences offered by these three universities. Let's face it, it's no fun to be a rich person in a poor country. So my suggestion is that not only is the objective of the foreign national who comes here for education to be educated, but there is also the desire to find a way to locate and translate that into business development, create businesses, create jobs, create wealth, and contribute to the community. Universities are charged with educating their students, and many of the admissions departments have recognized the value that is afforded to them by seeking new students and from foreign countries. But the key, I think, is when the development departments of our universities begin to think about the resources available to them through the alumni, the foreign alumni, and the current foreign student, and their families within their home communities, the opportunities that might be developed for internship programs for students on a cross-border philosophy, the opportunity to attract development dollars and donor base from foreign communities, and ultimately the opportunity to attract investment dollars to our community in the industry clusters that become important to us and to those. I want to also point out that the strategy for developing how the university furthers the economic impacts of their student base is to look to the diplomatic community. Simply 45 miles down the road on I-95 in the great city of Miami is one of the largest diplomatic corps that exists in all of the United States. These diplomats, their consulate generals, their staffs, their cultural attaches, and their trade commissioners are a treasure trove of information and opportunity for our college, our university development directors, our university admissions directors, and hence our community to participate in uncovering new and expanding opportunities throughout the Western Hemisphere and throughout the world. I, for one, cannot think of a better source of information than the diplomatic post in this locale, and I suggest that we begin to think greater than simply the admission of a foreign student, and more to the strategy that will allow us to develop the economic platforms that this community has through foreign investment dollars, in line with what the state of Florida is attempting to do, and in line with what the governor and others in the state are attempting to do. With that said, I'd like to move on into what I call kudos and KOs. This week I'm going to refer a major kudo to the Florida Chamber of Commerce. Their website is www.floridachamber.com. The head of that organization is Mr. Frank Ryle, and Frank has embraced the international platform in a major way. He is a working partner with Enterprise Florida and with the Office of Tourism, Trade, and Economic Development, and I suspect will be very influential in Governor Scott's development or re-implementation of a Commerce Department with a secretary-level person heading it in the very near future. But my kudos go to the Chamber for supporting a series of events that will be coming up in the next few months. The first one I want to reference is the Business Future of the Americas Conference. This conference is hosting the annual Business Future Americas Conference on June 12th through June 14th at the Hilton Hotel in Cartagena, Colombia. As you will, registration information can be gleaned at the Florida Chamber website, and speakers include the President of Colombia, who is committed to being there. Another event that is coming up that everybody should be aware of and participate in: the Florida Business Expo and Trade Mission to Brazil. This is scheduled for October 23rd to the 27th, and Team Florida Business Expo will include Governor Rick Scott, who is committed to attend this trade mission to the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo. That can be found, the information with regards to that again can be found at the Chamber and can be found at the Enterprise Florida or eflorida.com. Mr. Ryle is very active, very committed to international, and kudos are to him in a major way. A second kudo I'd like to offer is to the Florida Ports Council, the Chamber, and to Bill Johnson, the head of the Port of Miami. And that is because Florida has been operating at a disadvantage for many years. State legislation with regards to port security has been greater than that required by the federal government. Well, this year, the Florida Chamber and the others mentioned were instrumental in getting the lawmakers in Tallahassee to remove the duplicative seaport securities regulations with the passage of House Bill 283 and adding trade and logistics to Florida's qualified targeted industries list with the passage of House Bill 879. Both bills have now traveled to the governor and are expected to be signed by the governor. The Seaport Security Bill removes the regulations that mirror federal regulations and take some of the competitive disadvantage away, and which will allow our ports to compete more effectively, particularly as the Panama Canal comes online. Throughout the state, there have been applauds for this. We applaud a comment from Bill Johnson, Port of Miami Director. We applaud the elimination of the duplicate securities requirements. Effective and efficient security protocols are a top priority for all ports. The elimination of duplicative requirements makes good sense. It is important that we continue to work with our partners in law enforcement to keep our ports safe and secure. With that said, kudos go out to the Port Director in Miami. Kudos go out to the Florida Chamber, and we thank you for participating and taking part in this production of Citizens of the World. So remember, we are, all of us, the residents of a swiftly shrinking globe, where what was once local is fast becoming global, and our decisions and opinions resonate well beyond the borders of our state. Join me, Al Zucaro, from the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere every Thursday evening at 9:30, and we look forward to continuing to bring you pointed looks at politics, immigration, culture, and what it means to be a citizen of the world.